with that, ask me anything. So we had been collecting questions. We started to do this a couple of Alliance E meetings ago to have people submit questions in advance. And it was pretty successful. And it was a little bit better than the old practice was. We would try and solicit questions on this session. But getting them in advance lets us, think about the question some, have a possibly more intelligent answer than what we could just sort of come up with quickly here. So what we'll do is we'll run through these. We'll see where we are with timing. I believe we have about 15 minutes. So I think we can make it through all the questions, and then we'll see what we can also do. But if you miss getting to ask something, or you feel like the answer wasn't so complete, utilize Discord or the Alliance forums, whichever one you feel comfortable with. Those are a great way to ask the question and have not just FileWave people look at it, but other customers who may have, have their own solution or angle to it. I think it's very interesting when, I'll have my position as somebody who works for FileWave, but somebody who's a customer who uses FileWave, may have the better answer for you because they're using it daily in possibly a similar environment to yours. So with that said, we'll run through these, and these are as they came in. So some of them, if we misinterpret, again, if you can ask in the chat or such, or hit Discord or the Alliance forums. But why do winget commands fail to function in FileWave? Even after contacting tech support, they couldn't resolve the issue. Now, I don't know, coincidentally, there was a support case that Zachary in support had a few days ago, and I wonder if it's not related. What we found was that Microsoft had added a new -- source switch, and we've updated the winget articles, and I messaged in Discord. At the very least, I should make sure I posted it on the forums, but we noticed that switch was needed. So we've gone through all the articles. One thing about winget is it's a great tool, but Microsoft is actively developing it, so there can be breaking changes. The great thing is a breaking change like a switch getting added is very easy to adjust for. So it's accounted for in the knowledge base. We went through step by step through the articles, and that was how we encountered that issue. It's unfortunate because I had tested the winget article fairly recently for somebody else, and it was fine. And then this breaking change came in. So we do try to audit the articles, but that I think that's the answer, that you should be okay now if you take a look and look for that -- source space winget additional switch that was added. When will you build an Azure AD connector to sync computer objects to Azure AD? I was not 100% sure, obviously, about the detail, but I'm thinking that it's similar to for Chromebooks. You can move computers around, use and do a model update, and it moves them around in Google's OU structure. So if that is the nature of the question, I don't believe that functionality is on the roadmap. We do support Windows MDM, so that is pushing out CSPs, or they're like Apple profiles, but the Windows equivalent. So you can push out these management profiles using MDM. But as far as moving things around, you couldn't. I will say that if you historically with AD, and I'm thinking just on-prem AD, I would see people add LDAP to see their AD structure. With Azure AD, I do not remember about that, if we do the same. But if LDAP's exposed, I would imagine we could. I know Google's LDAP adds a complexity where you can't add Google LDAP directly because they try to do a certificate-based authentication that we can't do. And I don't think the same is true for Azure. I think you probably could. So you could see the structure potentially, but you can't really use it to move things around. And the improved patching interface for third party, will it include Microsoft too? And if you saw when PN was speaking earlier, that winget is our first target. So it will be Microsoft first in this case. So that is good, and after hopefully that is very successful, then maybe on the Apple side, something like auto package could be, how we integrate there, and we'll see how successful we are with that. And then on the Apple front,
And maybe
I didn't know, PN, if you wanted to cover some or all of these. I could.
Yeah, maybe I can address a few of those ones.
Yeah.
Rapid security response. Yes, there are some plan. Apple made them available in GDMF, which is the public repository for updates, or at least the metadata about updates. They announced this in spring, and they started to be visible over the summer. Unfortunately, we had no time to do it for 15.1. We'll see if we can do something for 15.2, but not sure. But yeah, there is definitely a plan to make them more visible than they are today. And this brings this question, or the answer to the second question, will MDM software update work better? For now, we've been told that, as I said, declarative device management will fix most of the issues we are seeing with software update MDM. So we haven't been able to try yet. And yeah, software update is painful for you and painful for us in the sense that once you've upgraded a device, it's sometimes super complicated to revert and to test again. As soon as Apple stops signing a device, it's quite impossible to revert. So not a device, an update, it's quite impossible to revert. So it's tricky. They know or complain, and all other MDM complaints about being able to get a better testing environment. But on the other hand, they argue that it's the security of their users. If they allow devices to be using an old version, that could be an open window for more problems. So yeah. We will know very soon if that works much better than the MDN one. So stay tuned. And while I will just let the super one to Josh, but I can answer the last one. So declarative device management. There are a few features which are there, which are not in MDM. One which is we believe it will be very useful for us, is notifications. Today, when we install an application, the device tells us, okay, I received your command and I will do it, maybe later. And the only way we can give you the status about the installation is to poll the device, which means sending an APN request to Apple, getting Apple contacting the device checks in, and we ask the device, hey, give me the list of all the apps. And then we see in the list of apps that this app status is being installed or downloading. And until the app is really installed, we have to do that regularly, which takes a lot of time, lots of resources, especially if you have 10,000 devices that have to connect every 2 minutes just to get updated device status. With declarative device management, there is a way where the device will automatically come back to FileWave and tell, hey, by the way, I'm downloading these apps. Oh, by the way, I have installed this app. So roughly real-time status for apps. So that's one of the very nice features we wanted to have first before software update came into the plan. The other thing, and here we will have to figure out exactly how we can map this with FileWave. There are predicates for what will be on the device. So the idea is that, so what is declarative device management? Let's have one step further, or let's see the feature from above. We send one big declaration where we tell the device, this is everything you need to have. MDM, it's command by command. Install this app, install this app, install this app until everything is done. With declarative device management, we send everything and the device takes care of it, which is good and bad because then we have less control than before, but then it's better because the device can take care of everything. Now what's predicate? We can say, okay, please install this app only if. And one of the example Apple gives about the only if is, for instance, enable this application only if the passcode is respecting this policy. So today you can do that with FileWave. You can create a smart groups which checks if the profile that enforces that the passcode is respecting your criteria is installed, and then you install the apps. But it's a little bit slower, and it requires the device to come back to the device, and there is lots of back and forth between the server and the device. With declarative device management, we could send one declaration, and the device will automatically update itself directly without contacting FileWave, except for the status report. So much faster, and even technically without having access to the network. So even off the network can work. So that's the main features declarative device management are bringing. And of course, now Apple is extending what can be done with declarative device management, so software update, as I said before, but more information about the devices that's what we can get from MDM. We are quite lucky. We have our agent running on the device where we can have more information, but that's not obviously not the case for iOS devices. So declarative device management will bring more information there. So again, it's when I looked at what device management is compared to 2 years ago, it's much bigger. Apple went from something barely compatible with the past with something which is smoothly integrated with MDM. They heard all MDM vendors complaining about, yeah, it's great, but how can I provide that to customers who are not capable of going to DDM? So yeah, they are doing some good work there, and we are really looking forward to bringing this to you. And I skipped the super one, but I will let you to Josh, because you have
and maybe I'll bring up the knowledge base, because so super is this. In our knowledge base, we have an article that talks about Superman, and if you've seen the article originally, we've actually been expanding it. Again, questions will come up. How do I do this? Or it would be nice to know how to do that. And we'll continue to expand the article. So I would say, if you haven't seen this article, you may want to, read through the article and see if what you're looking for is not covered here. You kind of have three options. One is you could put a comment on the bottom of the article, asking about a particular thing. Another option is you could join our Discord or the Alliance forums and ask about that particular thing, and we can kind of dig into it and figure out what we should document. And then the other way is there's a thing called Mac Admin Slack, which probably if you support Apple stuff, you've heard of Mac Admin Slack, and there's a fairly active channel for Superman there too. So a few options, but I'd probably say that my best answer is look at this article, see what we're missing, and then collaborate with us to figure out what it is that you want to see. So that is what I'd say about that. And if anyone in here manages Macs and hasn't ever seen that we have this Superman article, in the software updates book, we actually have Superman and we have Nudge. And both of these are to address some of the reason that Apple's making all these changes and introducing declarative is because there have been issues with pushing OS updates using their framework. So these are methods to get around that. So if you experience problems, particularly on the macOS side, you can do workarounds with scripting. On iOS or Apple TV, can't really script around that because you're entirely in the Apple framework, but you can get really creative. And in some scenarios, you might actually look at Superman and like the way you can customize the interface, better than doing it just directly in FileWave. I mean, it really depends on your needs. So these things tie into FileWave. They can be used with FileWave, but they're kind of third-party extensions, I guess, would be the best way. We try to add articles about topics that could extend FileWave and make things easier. There's this other article kind of going back to the software updates, and if a software update's not applying on macOS or iPads, there is this dead MDM article that if you use Apple stuff, you probably want to read it. With the release of iOS 17 and macOS 14, we're kind of hoping that this goes away because it really wasn't an Apple side issue. But this article can give you some tips, and it talks a bit about it, can give you some background. And in the article, I even put links at the bottom. No, it's not in that one where I put the links. There is an article that talks about it and has links to some stories that were written by like Jump Cloud and Adigy and some other competitors that talk about the same sort of problem and challenges. And a lot of them recommend Superman and Nudge for some things. And some others like Adigy have something similar to this article where they try and kill and restart the process. So it's worth looking at. Let's see. Okay, so I know we're coming right up against the end. So I think we'll make it through these, and then we should really continue the conversation in Discord or Alliance forums. It's a great way. We can talk to you guys anytime. And at the very last slide, I have the QR code for both in case you missed it, and I'll have that up on the screen for a couple of minutes after we end. But if I remove the Chromebooks from our FileWave server, which steps in the setup process can I skip? Well, so anybody that uses Chromebooks, you know that there's kind of two things that you set up in Google's backend. There's a bunch of steps along the way. And I guess it really depends on how much you undid. Because, for instance, and I think it's still called this at the beginning when you go into Firebase and make a project, like if you deleted that project, well, then you're probably going through everything. So my answer without actually having a conversation directly with you, and I welcome you, you can message in Discord or open a support case if you're not sure as well. But I would say you'd probably want to step through the instructions, and anything that you have that still exists from your prior setup, you don't necessarily have to repeat, but you want to go through the instructions to make sure, if you're not sure, that you deleted some part of the thing, because there are a few steps, including uploading a JSON file into the Google Admin Console that makes it collect the inventory and setting up the extension to go to your devices. The whole process takes about 15 minutes if you sit down and go through the articles. So it's not long, but I don't have a great answer because it's kind of it depends. So how to take over administration for an old FileWave server. Do I try to rebuild it somehow? Yeah, right? It goes directly back to that FileWave continuity type of thing that I said, where, about training classes. So FileWave continuity would be part of the answer, that we do have a program where you could not either get basic help, or in a bigger version of it, we could help pick apart those things with you. Or we welcome you to be on Discord or the Alliance forums and kind of asking questions. But I know sometimes it's hard in a public forum to pick everything apart. So that sort of private one-on-one with professional services might be part of your answer. So we're happy to chat anytime and help you to whatever extent you need. But you don't really rebuild the server. I would say that the best thing would be look at what is set up currently and why it's set up. And then if you're a school and you do a summer refresh where you re-enroll everything anyway, well, yeah, you could delete basically everything. But then think about, you might have to redo work to make file sets that perhaps were very good and would have been reusable. So that one too is a bit of a, why come into Discord or the Alliance forums and start to ask a couple of questions, and attend the open office hours where you can ask questions in a more personal way, and then see about using some PS. So adding exceptions when updating or pushing out to smart groups and customizing the reports on the FileWave admin client. So the exceptions when updating or pushing out smart groups. So we showed that in deployments. I mean, that was the exact demo given. So I think that's the great answer. Customizing reports. Because I know we're a couple of minutes over, the best way without spending 5 to 10 minutes on it that I'd say is, in the Foundry, there are some things about what are called queries in Central, reports are in Anywhere, but they're the same thing. We're actually going to be changing it to be called reports in both places, from what I understand, to just use one term because they are the same thing. I would say hit up some videos in the Foundry, and if you want, if you message me on Discord or the Alliance forums, we could even have a quick call and go through it. Or if you reach out to customer experience, Jonathan Kane, could perhaps do like a quick little thing with you. But they are powerful. You can report on anything. Is there anything extra we need to know about hosting this update on CentOS? So for 15.1 on CentOS, no. 15.2 on CentOS, you're fine. It's next year when 15.3 comes out, where we're leaning towards releasing that again for CentOS. But the only thing for sure at this moment is 15.2 will continue to be both. It will be both CentOS, macOS, and then add Debian. So we don't want to sort of push somebody faster than they can go. So that's why we feel like 15.3 will also be CentOS and Debian. And the ability to install kiosk-based, I know I was part of a conversation on this one about the reinstall selected file sets button being gray, but I didn't come to the answer on it. I don't have a good answer.
Maybe
unless,
I can answer this
do you?
one.
Yeah.
Was not intended. The reason why, what we did is that we removed the ability to install a file set which was just associated. And the reason is what I mentioned earlier with the exclusion and smart groups, because it was then possible to install a file set on a device, even if the device was excluded from the deployment. So here we were not sure if the device was just associated and then excluded, or if it was just associated and then it would be installed. So we make it simpler for us. We just disable it for associated. And we did not consider at all kiosk associated file sets. So sorry about that. I should have looked at it. So next step for this one, I will create definitely a ticket for our development teams, and we will see how we can address the kiosk ones, because yeah, it's for me a valid use case. So
okay, good. I knew it came up. I just didn't know the end result. So then the only thing that I feel like I did not at all cover here is the customizing reports, because I feel like that would make us run over even more than the 6 minutes we've run over. So that, or so I can help you if you're on Discord, message me, or Alliance forums, or shoot me an email, josh.lenitsky@filewave.com, and I'm happy to do a quick thing and show you. But otherwise, that is all the things. And I wanted to share these links with you guys in case you missed capturing it earlier. And definitely join Discord or the Alliance forum. I know I say that a few times. It is super to stay in contact and be aware, because this manages all your systems. If you feel like you spend a lot of time in FileWave, that can be a good thing, because it is in theory doing a lot for you. So I could say when I manage systems, I was in my asset management system most of my day, but it was all productive, and we want it to be productive for you.